All right, let's talk about something that pretty much affects every single one of us, whether we realize it or not. We're going to dig into the secret history of the English language and figure out how it became, the most powerful communication tool in the world. So let's get right into it.
I mean, think about it. We use it, we hear it, it's just everywhere. But have you ever actually stopped and asked yourself, why English? Seriously, out of the thousands of languages out there, how did this one end up on top? What's the secret?
And let's be real, its influence is massive. You want a better job? Chances are you need English. You want to travel pretty much anywhere? Yep, English helps. We're talking international business, Hollywood movies, pop music, even the internet itself. It's kind of like the unofficial operating system for the entire modern world.
But here's what makes this whole story so crazy. It was never supposed to happen this way, not even close. The rise of English is the ultimate underdog story. We're talking about a language that came from basically nowhere to dominate everything.
So let's jump in our time machine and go back about 1,500 years. Back then, English wasn't some language of power. Honestly, it was barely a language at all. It was just a mishmash of dialects spoken by a few tribes on a small, kind of damp island at the very edge of the known world. It was simple, unimportant, a nobody on the world stage.
And just look at this contrast. The big players back then, the languages of power, were the languages of empire. We're talking Latin, Greek, Chinese, Arabic. These were the heavy hitters. English, it wasn't just not on the list, it wasn't even playing in the same league. So how on earth did this underdog come from behind to beat them all?
Well, the whole thing really comes down to two huge historical waves. Think of them like two massive tsunamis of power that washed over the planet, and they just happened to carry the English language with them, dropping it off everywhere.
So wave number one kicks off in the 1600s. Britain had this, well, you could call it a secret weapon. Its navy. They built this incredible fleet that let them sail anywhere, and they set up colonies all over the globe. We're talking India, Africa, Australia, the Americas. And here's the really crucial part. Even after these places got their independence, English often stuck around as the language for government, for business, for education. The seeds were planted.
But planting the seeds, that was just the beginning. That first wave got English on the map for sure, but it wasn't enough to make it dominant. No, something else was coming. A second wave, even bigger than the first, that was going to make English completely unstoppable.
And that unstoppable force? The rise of the United States. After World War II, America didn't just become a superpower, it reshaped the entire planet. And this influence was built on 5 main pillars, and every single one of them helped cement English as the world's go-to language.
Pillar number 1, money. It's simple, really. The US dollar became the world's default currency. So if you're a company in Japan buying oil from Saudi Arabia, you're probably doing that deal in dollars. And if the whole world is doing business in dollars, well, you're going to end up doing business in English.
Then, pillar number 2, pop culture. This one's huge. Hollywood movies, American music, it just exploded across the globe. And this created a massive shift. Suddenly, people didn't just have to learn English for a job, they wanted to learn it. They wanted to understand the movies, sing the songs, and just be part of that global culture.
Pillar 3, the internet. I mean, the whole digital world was pretty much born in America, and it was born speaking English. Think about the biggest tech companies, Google, Apple, Microsoft. Think about the code itself, the programming languages that build everything online. It's all rooted in English. To get by in the digital age, you had to know some English. Okay, pillar number 4, science and innovation. This is a big one. The world's top universities started teaching in English. The most important scientific papers, the biggest breakthroughs in medicine and tech, they were all being published in English. So if you wanted to be on the cutting edge of, anything, you had to speak the language.
And finally, the 5th pillar, politics and the military. As America's global role grew, English became the language of international diplomacy. You look at huge organizations like the United Nations or NATO, English is one of the main languages they use to get things done.
So after this absolutely wild ride from a tiny island to total world domination, you gotta ask, right? Is this it? Will English be on top forever, or could something else knock it off its throne? Maybe another language, or maybe technology?
Well, the first piece of evidence is just mind-blowing. Right now, as we speak, 1.5 billion people are learning English. Let that sink in. That's almost 20% of the entire human population. So this is not a language that's fading away. The demand is bigger than ever.
So, what about the competition? The other big languages.
Mandarin has way more native speakers, but it's famously super difficult to learn for outsiders. Spanish is huge, but its reach is more regional. The key advantage English has is that it's already woven into everything. Global business, science, the internet. It's got this massive head start that's really hard to overcome.
But there's a wild card, right? Technology. We've all seen these amazing real-time translation tools. So does that mean we won't even need to learn languages anymore? Could a smart enough AI just make English totally irrelevant?
The consensus, for now at least, is probably not. AI is going to be an incredible assistant, for sure. It'll help us communicate, but it's not likely to replace the need for shared language. When you're making a huge business deal or a scientific discovery, you want to talk directly, not through a machine. English is just too tangled up in the very wiring of our world.
So when you put it all together, this whole story, it's not just a history lesson. It explains why English is where it is today. And it shows that it's become something more than just a language. For millions of people, it's a key. A key that unlocks a personal toolkit. It gives you a shot at better jobs and international careers. It lets you travel the world with confidence. It gives you access to the vast majority of all the knowledge on the internet. And maybe coolest of all, it lets you have a real conversation with someone from almost any country on the planet.
That's why you hear people say things like this. English isn't just a language, it is power. It is freedom. And what they mean by that is once you have it, you're not as limited by where you were born. You have more choices, more control over your own life and where you want to go.
And that's why, when you look at the history and where things are today, it's pretty clear that learning English is one of the single best investments you can make in yourself.
And that brings us to you. Your future is calling. So the only real question left is, are you going to answer?